Hey everyone, it's Strange Michael. I hope you're doing well today, and I have a review here for a movie that is considered a horror classic, if you will. It's based on a book by Ira Levin, who I've never read before, and I've never read this book before, because I saw this movie I'm about to talk about, a long time ago. Like, I think the last time I saw this was when I was like 15 or 14, so over 15 years ago is when I saw this last. And I hated it so much that I immediately took the book that I bought with my own hard-earned money at Barnes & Noble and threw it in a Goodwill box and got rid of that shit. This movie here is the 1968 adaptation of that book called by the same title, Rosemary's Baby, directed and written by the shithead Roman Polanski, who was just a fucking creep and a pedophile and so on and so on. He adapted it himself from that book. It is like 2 hours and 17 minutes of complete boredom. Complete boredom. It's got some good elements, I will talk about that in a moment, but the majority of the movie I hate. I can't stand it. I think the concept is cool, the setup is kind of cool, with a really good score, I think, made for the film. The score is one of the creepiest theme songs for a movie ever. And the reason I wanted to go ahead and rewatch this for the first time in all these years and get a review out, because I never want to watch this piece of shit again, is because there's a new film that is a prequel to this film called like Apartment 7A, I think is what it was called. It kind of ties to events in this movie a little bit, but it is mostly a prequel about another character from this movie named Terry, I believe. So, I haven't seen that. I think it's out on Paramount. I think you can rent it on Prime, so on and so on. I don't know if I'm going to watch that anytime soon, but I kind of want to at some point. We'll see. There's a lot of horror films from this year I haven't watched yet that everybody's talking about, like Sting, like Voyage of the Demeter? Whatever the Dracula movie is. We have Nosferatu coming out at the end of the year. There's a lot of stuff I haven't watched yet that I want to cover by the end of the year, but we'll see. Anyway, back to Rosemary's Baby, though. This essentially is about a young woman played by Mia Farrow, who is pretty much our main character. She is married to a guy named Guy, who is a struggling actor trying to break into Hollywood. And they move into a new apartment in New York City, and while they're there, she befriends a young lady who happens to be living there with these two elderly folks in the apartment complex, and she doesn't last long, let's say. And I actually think she's the character of the new prequel that's coming out, Apartment 7A. And Mia Farrow's character and her kind of become friends for a moment, but when this young lady mysteriously dies in a suicide that no one really had any reason to believe she would have committed suicide, aside from being down on her luck, she happened to also be living with or being best friends with this elderly couple inside of this apartment complex. Now, Mia Farrow and her husband actually meet these two older people and start to hang out and talk to them. But at the same time, Mia Farrow and her husband are trying to have a baby. And some events around trying to get pregnant, and eventually getting pregnant, begin to unfold that are a little bit weird, a little bit bizarre. Some of the neighbors, like that elderly couple, are acting weird. Some strange things begin to happen, not just with the suicide of that girl that Mia Farrow's character became friends with, but some other things that begin to develop. I don't want to tell you too much, but I do want to give you a little nudging for people who have not heard of this movie, who have not seen this movie. It's almost like a shittier version of The Omen, if you will. The Omen, I think, is phenomenal. I just reviewed all of those movies for the recent, the first Omen movie when it came out. I talked about like every Omen movie I could, and I loved it. I thought all of them were really, really good for the most part. They had their hits and their misses. They had their problems, like the remake. That was kind of lame. But overall, I think that The Omen in general, even if it came after this, was better, in my opinion. I really dig it. As a kind of Antichrist child movie, this is not really up to snuff because it's not really about that. That's the general reputation the movie has, but it's not really about that. It's more about Mia Farrow and what she gets caught up in, her and her husband. This movie is very much, I think it's praised too much. It's overrated, I would say, flat out. I think it's always been overrated. It's a well-shot film for what it's doing. It's mostly in that apartment complex. I think that the performances are mostly fine for the really bad script they were given. It's way too long of a film. You could easily cut this down to like an hour and a half, hour 40 maximum, maybe hour 35. Anyway, I don't think it needs to be 2 hours and almost a half, because it doesn't need to be. It's just boring. It's so slow. There's not much happening here. I like slow burn films. I don't mind slow burn films. And coming from somebody like myself who watches a lot of black and white horror, if your excuse of why I don't like this is because I don't like slow burns, shut the fuck up. That's not the case. The movie's boring. End of story. I think a lot of people like this movie because of the kind of feminist message it has, and that's fine if you like it, but it's not really all that great, to be honest. I don't really think the horror is there. It has maybe a couple of scenes of atmosphere for me that actually click. I think the majority of it just doesn't work for me. I just don't really find myself loving this movie. It's more of a family drama amongst the wife and the husband and their upcoming baby than anything. But the things that aren't done well here, I think, again, eventually The Omen came out doing everything much better, in my personal opinion. Rosemary's Baby is a fucking mess, and I cannot believe people defend this movie. I have watched it this second time, and I have convinced myself I will never like it. I saw it as a teen, I saw it now as an adult who has a broader range of what I like and don't like, and I just don't like this movie. I think it's fucking dull, despite how well shot it is, despite how well made it can be in crafting, and despite how creepy and wonderfully eerie that score and theme song can be. I'm not in love with this. I think it's kind of terrible, to be honest. And you don't even get to see the things you want to see. I'm not going to go too much into that thought, but anything that you're watching this movie for, you're not going to see, just so you know. Just going to let you know that up front. But anyway, when it comes to Rosemary's Baby, I'm not into it, man. If I had to rate it on a 5-star basis, I'd give it like maybe a 2 out of 5 stars, because I like certain things about it, like the score. I don't give a 1 out of 5 stars to something unless it's completely awful in pretty much every respect. This gets a 2 out of 5. It's really weak, man. The only people defending this are people who were told it was good, and they have to believe that. So anyway, fuck off if you're going to give me trouble in the comments section. I hate this movie. I think it's terrible. Don't watch it. I don't recommend it to anybody. I have never seen the original sequel. I think it's Something's Wrong with Rosemary's Baby was the title. It was like a TV movie and stuff. I think it came out a while after this. Never seen it. It has like a 3.2 or 3.3 or something on IMDb. Maybe that would be worth a watch at some point, just to grieve about how bad and wasted it was. I don't know. I think that's based on a book from Ira Levin as well. But Apartment 7A I've actually heard is better for people like me who don't like Rosemary's Baby, so I might still try to check that out at some point, like I said. Anyway, Rosemary's Baby, 2 out of 5 stars for me. Don't waste your time. Have you seen it? What do you think about it? Have you read the book? I heard this is like completely faithful to the book, so you'll probably never see me read that book. Just saying. Maybe the book would be better. I don't think so. I don't really think so I won't waste my time. Are you going to waste your time? I'd love to hear all that down below. What do you think about this film, the original sequel, Something's Wrong with Rosemary's Baby? What do you think about Apartment 7A if you have seen that? I'd love to hear your thoughts about all this stuff down below. Have you seen the Zoe Saldana TV miniseries version of this? I've never watched it. I wanted to watch it back in the day because I love Zoe Saldana. Never got around to it. After rewatching this, I really don't want to, but I would if you guys requested that, so let me know what you think. Anyway, thank you guys, God bless you all, catch you later, and goodbye.